This video is going to be a film study look at what I believe to have been the biggest all-pro snub in the NFL in 2024, and that's Leonard Williams. He had a truly amazing season this year. I thought he was a Defensive Player of the Year candidate at one point with his late season surge, and what I mean by that is from like week 11 or 12 onward, he was one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL, at least in terms of the guys that I was able to see consistent film of. If you're not aware, in the last 7 games of 2024, Leonard Williams had 8.5 sacks, 14 quarterback hits, 2 passes defensed, and the 92-yard interception return for a touchdown that totally flipped Seattle's road win over Aaron Rodgers and the Jets in Week 13. At that time, the Seahawks were in the midst of a 4-game win streak that briefly pushed them into first place in the division. Things didn't finish up in that regard for Mike Macdonald in his first year in Seattle, but Williams capped off a monstrous season. It included 11 sacks, 28 quarterback hits, 16 TFLs, 64 tackles overall. The sacks and TFLs are career highs for a season. Actually, his career high for sacks is 11.5 in 2020. My apologies. Quarterback hits, second highest output ever. To compare him with the rest of the defensive linemen in the NFL, his quarterback hits number of 28. That was third in the league, behind only Zach Allen and Trey Hendrickson. Tied with Myles Garrett, in fact. For TFLs, 16. Tied for 9th in the league. And then finally, his sack output, tied for 10th in the NFL with Texans rookie Will Anderson. If you can't tell where I'm going with this, like I said, I think there's evidence, data, stats that prove he was one who was worthy of an all-pro designation. And this is not meant to criticize other players who were deserving in their own right. Cam Hayward, Chris Jones, Zach Allen, they deserved recognition, and they got it. Leonard Williams did not. I thought for him to not even make second-team all-pro, let alone the Pro Bowl, I thought that should have been a given. Now, this video clearly should have been out 2 or 2.5 weeks ago, but for me, producing content has become even more difficult for a lot of reasons lately. I do have 2 other Seahawks content pieces hopefully coming down the pipe, a Clint Kubiak offense film study, and then a look at Geno Smith's 2024 season. In any case, I think his production in 2024 was underserved by missing out on an All-Pro or Pro Bowl designation. And this video, albeit a belated one, is my attempt to make up for it, to show it. First of all, his 11 sacks are noteworthy because he can play anywhere. Although he consistently lines up at D-tackle and wins against guards in the pass rush, he also creates opportunities, one-on-ones for edge defenders on the outside. Derek Hall, Boye Mafe, Uchenna, and Wosu. And then when they need him to, when they find a matchup they like, Leonard Williams can step outside as a 9 technique, a 5 technique, a D-end edge defender, if you will, and make an impact there. I'll show you a few plays of him doing so. He's got a nasty swim move against the pass and the run. His rip under, he basically can put an offensive lineman on the train tracks and walk them back or force them back into the quarterback's field of vision. He is under contract for 2 more years. Looking back at that decision for Seattle's front office, it was a good one because what would he cost now after a career year that really surpasses his 2020 season, but nonetheless looks repeatable from when you figure out that he put up so much production in the last 7 games of the year, I should say, presumably at the end of a grueling, difficult NFL schedule. The pick 6 against the Jets really throws it over the top for me. That this guy is as impactful as anyone in the league at the defensive line position. I know his cap hit in 2025 is huge. I think it's $29.5 million, something like that. It's probably one of the reasons that there's a lot of Seahawks fans out there that think they should go get younger and cheaper at quarterback because his cap hit is going to explode. When you're drafting at pick 18 like they are coming up here in the draft in 2025, you got serious needs at offensive line and the possibility to maybe grab a quarterback who could be there that could help you for cheaper. It's got to be tempting for Seahawks fans to focus on. In any case, we're going to focus on the pick against the Jets, what I call glitch blitz, then him against the run. Playing against the run, it's not just his physicality and the obvious gifts, strength, but it's his ability to get his cleats in the ground when he attacks with his hands. So he's balanced and he's able to generate a second punch, or in some case, a third punch or third engagement. Is a very intelligent football player as well, along with all the physical gifts. Slipping outside of, really I should say, swimming outside of down blocks. And then finally, we'll focus on his pass rushes as a D-end / D tackle. They need someone either Mafe or Derek Hall to kind of join him. Those guys combined for 14 sacks this year. I think the Seahawks would like for those two to get that total to somewhere in the 20 or 22 range. But in any case, let's get to the film, and we're going to focus on his pick six against the Jets in Week 13. Here, the Jets are up 21-7, and this is a 3rd and goal. What would the situation look like for Seattle in this game if they fall behind 28-7? One snap before, in fact, Aaron Rodgers had an opportunity to hit a receiver, or maybe even 24-7. My point is, that was not a game-changing play. That was a season-changing play. Huge moment to prevent a touchdown, deny a field goal, but also turn it into points. Seattle didn't make the playoffs, right? But that play there allowed the window for a playoff opportunity to be wider. How does it happen? I've talked about the glitch blitz multiple times on my channel, but these two defensive tackles, Williams and 90, are stepping to an offensive lineman to occupy and then peeling out. And as it stands, Williams is got great hand-eye coordination, great awareness. You can see Aaron Rodgers is already letting go of the football, and there's Leonard Williams with his eyes back to him. That's part of the glitch blitz. They're told to drop out, eye a receiver for a moment, look for an in-breaking route. In this case, it's Garrett Wilson. You can see right here. Ball never gets to him. Why? Leonard Williams is in the way, gets his paw on it, deflects it, and then breaks the tackle and takes it 92 yards. That, to me, was one of the best plays in the NFL in 2024 that I was blessed enough to be able to watch, particularly because it's from a guy who is 6'5", 6'6", 320, 315 pounds. I cover the Ravens, Lions, and the Seahawks to an extent. The timing, the coordination, like I said, that was a season-changing play for Seattle. Even though they didn't make the playoffs, that win in New York, that play really is a huge difference between them being able to grab control and possibly fall behind versus possibly fall behind 24-7 or maybe even 28-7. Against the run, we'll take a look at some of his plays. Look, he's extremely balanced. I would say he's a hybrid defensive tackle, defensive end. Here, this is Week 7 against the Falcons. It's a 1st and 10, and they're already up by 10 points. Let that one flow through one more time. It's his ability to shed off of the guard and basically control the guard completely in a manner that allows him to get to the side where the running back chooses to make his cut or is trying to find space to get downhill. Give the end zone angle of this one. When he's one-on-one with a guard, it's a nightmare for an offense for real. He's a tone setter, if you ask me, and he's a guy who wins his one-on-ones with a high degree of reliability. So initially, he's won with the head. He actually wins this rep twice, if you ask me. He's front side on this, meaning his head is to this side because he thinks that's where Bijan Robinson's possibly going to go. Whatever the flow is, downhill, possibly outside, angular, if you will. But then watch what he does to throw the guard off of him and get back to the inside when Robinson cuts. He's in complete control of this rep. Like I said, I would look at this as saying he won this rep twice. He won it to the outside because that's where his head was initially. And then when Bijan Robinson decided to cut it downhill inside of his gap or inside of his engagement with the left guard, he was able to get there as well. Now, this is something that multiple NFL defensive linemen, D tackles do. Don't get me wrong. And in fact, Bijan Robinson converts this 3rd and 1. He gets 1 yard. But Leonard Williams does this in a little bit more of a unique or impressive way. He recognizes it sometimes. So some guys are stepping. You're not supposed to step away from the football, but there's times where you're slanting or stunting or part of a pick, and so you do so. This is the same play, the 3rd and 1, like I said, Week 7 against the Falcons. So he's got great timing and explosion to get this done. It's supposed to be a down block by the right tackle that you see. And a lot of guys recognize the situation to be able to step out and swim to the outside of this offensive lineman who, again, is going down on that path. And so you basically defeat the blocking scheme by getting to the outside of it, and then you can cut back under the heel, back behind the heels of the offensive lineman, I should say, to make the tackle. Not necessarily on this play, because I think this is predetermined by Leonard Williams. I think he knows what type of scheme he's probably going to get, and he knows because of his alignment that he's inside and most likely going to get a down block, so he's going to step out. Again, that play was a conversion by Bijan Robinson. Watch the foot, the left foot here. Still a sick play, even though the Falcons get a conversion. And I think it just gives you an example of how he gets this done. Stepping to the tackle, getting his hands on him briefly, and then swimming over the top to basically make the guy fall flat or face plant almost. Go down the heels of the offensive lineman, make the tackle. Multiple versions of this from 2024. When you combine, his explosiveness, his length, his strike, you combine all that with the awareness and the intelligence, it's a truly unique football player, if you ask me. Same dynamic, all right? Williams knows the assignment. He knows that he's going to get a down block by the left tackle for the Rams. It's a first and goal. I think the Rams actually scored on the very next play. But you can see the same technique executed to the opposite side. Swim to the outside, jump back inside to the heels of the offensive lineman to be able to essentially fold behind the blocking scheme and then make the play. I don't want to show you too many reps, but I feel like these in particular give an idea of how nasty he is in one-on-one engagements. The first play that I showed you against the Falcons, and then his swim to the outside. He's also very unselfish on stunts and picks. Whatever they ask him to do, he does. And I'm going to use one more play against the Rams to kind of illustrate that. So he's adjusting his teammates. It's a third quarter, second and goal play, so a little bit later than the one I showed you. So you can see him. He's adjusting Murphy. And Murphy and Williams are basically going to give themselves up to create a lane for Ernest Jones IV, if you will. Essentially give him a great opportunity for a tackle for loss by freeing up that front side A-gap. So Murphy stepping to this B-gap. Now Williams is just really trying to blow this center up, and then that frees up this open front side A-gap for Ernest Jones IV to run through. He's a very high-level, intelligent football player. I felt like I knew that already before this film study video, and then seeing some of the things that he does pre-snap, you saw him adjust Murphy. So he literally was telling them the stunt that was to be run. And then, oh, by the way, he appears to be a cool dude. He pushed the lineman, I think the center, over for the Rams and then tried to catch him. It can't be fun to play against a dude like that who kicks your ass during the rep and then is smart enough to not get a penalty after the play. All right, pass rush situations as a defensive end here. So against the Cardinals, he was absolutely dominant in this win. Against the left tackle here on a 3rd and 14. Now, this is after Kobe Bryant's pick 6, so it's already 13-3 Seattle. He's a load to deal with from this outside alignment. When he's so far outside of the blocking scheme, or outside of, I should say, the tackle in a pass rush situation, he's just at 6'5", 6'6", 310, 315, whatever he is. And he's got a great get off. I mean, he explodes off of the ball immediately. And here you've got a situation where they're trying to chip him, gets away from the left tackle as well. I think it's Johnson, a high-level guy in terms of his draft position. I like combat sports analogies, and I will use one a little bit later for Leonard Williams, but I'm going to use a basketball one. He reminds me of like a power forward or a center in basketball who also has great ball handling, passing skills, and can shoot the 18 to 20-foot jumper. Essentially, I'm likening or comparing those skills to his hand swats or his moves against potential blockers. They're exquisite, extremely well-timed. You've even got a underrated rip here to ensure that he's going to be able to maintain that lane, that open lane, as Kyler Murray kind of folds back outside of the pocket. He's in attack mode all the time, very committed. I'd love to see his production continue, and then Mafe and or Derek Hall up their game at the same time. So here's what I mean. Hall last season, I think, had 8 sacks. Boye Mafe in 2023 had 9. I'd like to see that output from both of them, maybe even 10 apiece, to get this Seahawks team in that 55 to 60 range for sacks for a season that I think is the prime area for a Mike McDonald defense to really be dominant against the pass after stopping or significantly slowing down the run game. Week 18 here, 3rd and 10. I think the Seahawks are up in the fourth quarter here, 24-22. Rams actually get a field goal after this play to take the lead, and then Seattle goes down to get the win. Attacking from that wide angle, again, committed to what he's doing, and then the closing speed, the range, because of his length and his commitment to his tracks, to his angle. He's a very balanced guy playing through contact, number one, and closes space quickly. Like I said, I think this is the game that Seattle wins 30-25. The last week of the regular season, Garoppolo's playing quarterback. This is still a great example of his athleticism, playing through space, leaving his rush lane, if you will, because he sees things in front of him. When I mentioned twice earlier that I thought he was an extremely intelligent player, I just mean he adjusts so well during the play, plays through contact. This is an exceptional football player, and that's the reason why I think he should have been named first team or second, at minimum, second team All-Pro. I do want to mention that there was one game this season that he didn't play in, and that was Seattle's Week 4 trip to Detroit. Oh, by the way, they gave up 42 points in the one game he didn't play in. So I would use that as evidence to what this defense looks like when Leonard Williams isn't out on the field. Pass rush against guards now. He's a sick advantage for a left guard or right guard to deal with anyone on the interior. He's got a rare combo of size, speed, athleticism, and then commitment to his technique. This is my favorite rush dynamic for Leonard Williams and the Seattle Seahawks. So what I mean is the edge defender on the left-hand side of the defense, the right-hand side of our screen right now, taking a high side rush, speed rush, outside rush, whatever you want to call it, to basically force the quarterback to step up and or escape to the left. And then tagging that or combining that with an interior rush from Leonard Williams, who's spot shadowed, seemed to be a dynamic that they relied on in certain moments. Maybe more athletic quarterbacks try to get out of there and move out to their left. It seems to me to be a way that they block a right-handed quarterback from escaping because they can't get out to the high side, the deeper, if you will, because of the rush by the edge defender to the Seahawks defense left or our right-hand side of the screen, like in the last play. And then Leonard Williams' ability to adjust, his length, his closing speed, his range on an interior rush means the quarterback will not escape to the right underneath. Hopefully I said that in a way that makes sense. He's just capable everywhere. I knew that going into this film study. Got a better idea of it as I gathered plays and tried to compile it. Now, one thing I want to talk about, and I've seen this dynamic about 6 times. I'm only going to show you really one of them. This is 2nd and 15, Week 13 against the Jets. His presence forces teams into decisions that really the choices are 2 bad choices. And I want to focus on this right tackle here for the Jets. So we're talking about right there. As this edge defender attacks to the outside, the first time I watched this, I was like, I think it's Boye Mafe, how was he able to get there so clean? The edge is just really soft. Watch how the right tackle diverts some of his attention inside to Leonard Williams, talking about his left hand, basically, in a manner that allows Mafe to win easier with his swat down on the outside. Mafe gets in there on Rodgers. And so the ironic thing is the Jets, by devoting an extra half or an extra quarter of a man, the right tackle's left arm, to Leonard Williams, actually open themselves up to Leonard Williams making the tackle, or the sack, in the end anyway. Hopefully I said it in a way that makes sense. It's just a really elongated or complicated way of saying he can give guys better opportunities because he has so much gravity as a pass rush. Like I said, the ironic thing is that the Jets, were trying to help out with Leonard Williams, and they actually opened themselves up to Mafe initially getting the pressure. He's a finisher. Again, to use a basketball analogy, a power forward or a center who on pick and roll concepts gets a lot of rolling dunks or tip dunks, if you will, at the rim after a teammate has missed the shot. This one against the Falcons, it's going to absolutely, first of all, Derek Hall is going to destroy and collapse the pocket. Williams rips eventually. It's in the second quarter here. This is a game that Seattle won, I think, 34-14. I'll rewind it a little bit, and then we'll focus on Derek Hall here in a moment. But you get the rip by Williams against the guard. These are absolute mismatches, if you ask me. Really, again, you get that same dynamic of the high side rusher from the left-hand side of Seattle's defense, and then an interior rush by Williams, whether it's a rip, whether it's a swim, a bull rush, whatever. That dynamic seems to be one of the best for Seattle from 2024. I feel like if they could use that dynamic often and combine it with extremely high-level rush technique from this side, not necessarily the player who's on the field here, that puts Seattle in a great situation. It really brings up the question, I should say, what are they going to do with pick 18? Another piece of content video that I'd like to put out about the Seahawks options picking at 18. I remember the Lions at 18 2 years ago. They were actually sitting on 2 first-round picks. Seattle's situation is different. There'll be a lot of options there. I almost feel like there might be too many options to improve the roster. But in any case, he doesn't need someone, okay, on the other side to win, to create wins for him. That's obvious. But having another high-level rusher, perhaps on the same side as Leonard Williams, so describing the style rush or the scheme that I like from this team from 2024, that high side rush here. Imagine if you had another high-level defender, really quality pass rusher, to put on the same side as Leonard Williams. I'm not saying I think that's what Seattle should do with pick 18. I'm just wondering if there isn't a part of their front office, they have significant concerns at the offensive line, in my opinion, that thinks, hey, look at what we could do. We could win with 4-man rushes and maintain extreme coverage variability or versatility with Leonard Williams, and then Mafe Hall on the other side away from him, and whoever our highest level guy, whoever the best guy is there at 18. That's not what I'm advocating for. I'm just wondering if that's not something that their front office has talked about already as an option for them. Against the Bears, he gets a sack. I think Caleb Williams kind of fumbles the ball off the snap. It's a shotgun snap. This is another example of his swim move, his ability to swim and basically destroy the posture of these less athletic guards. Look, the guards are already struggling to deal with his strength. They're already struggling to deal with his hand placement and his ability to get off the block. And then his sudden ability to swim off over the top leaves them lunging or gasping for air. This is a unique football player. I'm not saying other D tackles aren't capable of these things. I mean, Chris Jones is amazing. Jalen Carter had a great season as well, named All-Pro. In my opinion, Leonard Williams is underrated across the NFL. And here's what I mean by that. If you're not aware, since 2020, he's got 37 sacks. Basically, a little over 7 per season, if you will. For his career, he's got 54.5. At 30 years of age, 1 or 2 more seasons like this puts him in really elite category, if you ask me, across the NFL. I'm just not sure that that's what that's how he's looked at by a lot of other people who evaluate the game. Finally, another swim move. This is a 3rd and 1, Week 18 against the Rams. You can see he's spot shadowed there. And this is a swim move that he uses against the run game, where he's anticipating a down block by an outside offensive lineman, whether it's a tackle or in this case a guard. He steps around it, possibly to try to stop the run, but realizes or recognizes that that's not the play. Tracks down Garoppolo, a supremely athletic, huge football player. I think he had a dominant 2024 season. In my opinion, it's one of the best defensive line seasons of 2024, and it deserved recognition. To bring up that issue again about pick 18, there certainly is going to be a ton of talent, ton of options there for Seattle's front office at the time they go to pick on night 1 of the draft. I have to wonder if the second or third best edge defender isn't there. And I do think very highly of Boye Mafe and Derek Hall. I think those guys can play. I just wonder if Seattle doesn't see something in a pass rush guy to put on the same side as Leonard Williams to really give them an overwhelming options, first of all, an incredibly athletic and effective pass rush with a four-man rush scheme to allow Mike Macdonald to do all the things he loves to do, change coverages, force quarterbacks to process things, post-snap. Leonard Williams has already kind of established that dynamic for Mike Macdonald's defense. It seems to me, after watching three and a half days of film of Leonard Williams and Seattle's defense, it does seem to me, and this is why I mention it for the third time, that adding a high-level pass rusher to put on the same side as Leonard Williams would almost push this defense into a higher stratosphere, maybe allow them to skip levels, if you will, from where they were in 2024. He's an incredible talent, one of my favorite players to watch film of. This one was, number one, something I had to edit heavily in order to get it through the YouTube system so you guys could check it out. If you enjoyed it, please let me know in the comment section. Probably at times was too much editing involved from a time standpoint, number one, and number two, from how much was on the screen, so I recognize that. And so maybe I'll dial that back a little bit. In any case, if you enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comment section, number one. Number two, if you think other Seahawks fans would enjoy this film study look, hopefully detailed look at Leonard Williams' 2024 season, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.